Hey guys, this is Thomas over here at nursemoneytalk.com. You know where a lot of nurses work at? The federal government. So like a VA, maybe even like a federal prison or something like that. And one of the things that's available to nurses who work in for the, in those places, for the federal government, just looking at generally, is that you have what's called a TSP that is available to you. Also, full name being the Thrift Savings Plan. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about it, kind of give a beginner's guide, if you will, to for the nurses who might not quite know exactly what it is and how that functions. And then I will also create kind of like some other videos that will talk about maybe the individual kind of like funds in the plan, some more details, just kind of depending on what questions you guys might have. But before I get into that, if you're not already subscribed, I want to go ahead and invite you to hit that subscribe button on this channel. I talk about all things related to, nursing student, and of course, nurse life. And one of the things that's very pertinent when it comes to being a nurse is being able to manage your money. And most importantly, really looking at how to save for retirement. So if that interests you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And also real quick, I do want to invite you that if this is something you're struggling in, if you go to Nurse Money Talk, or if you just go to nursemoneytalk.com/advisor, that will take you to a spot where you can search for a financial advisor, retirement planner, somebody to help kind of walk you through this in more detail, because what I'm really giving is more or less general advice. Well, I might make other videos that'll talk a little bit about what I would do in that situation. It's important to note that, everybody's different. Your financial goals are different. Your retirement goals are different. And what you want in general is going to be different. So it's important to really have somebody who's going to sit with you and walk you through what like each and every single one of those like individual decisions are. So definitely check that out, nursemoneytalk.com/advisor. I'll also put a link to that in the descriptions below. Let's go ahead and backpedal real quick, because I want to mention real quick what the Thrift Savings Plan, at this point I'm just going to refer it as the TSP, what it's not. And it's not your pension. So your pension, your FERS or whatever, that is something that's separate from this. So if that interests you guys, let me know in the comments. I might make a kind of like a quick little rundown video on that as well. But I do want you to understand that those are two different things, right? So now let's get into what is the TSP. So the TSP, it's very similar, or for the purposes of this video, similar enough to what most people, or most everybody else in the private sector would consider a 401k, or if you work for like a non-profit, a 403b. And so that is like the government equivalent. It's an employer-sponsored, retirement plan. And so what it is that, and so how the TSP works is that you essentially designate a certain amount every paycheck or whatever that you're going to put into that account. Now, if you work for the federal government, right, they will actually match that. So what matching is that for every dollar you put in, the federal government will come in and will put in another dollar on top of that, up to 5%, right? So, for easy math, let's say your paycheck is, I don't know, like $3,000 or whatever, and you put in $100 out of that, which $100 is not 5% of that, but just easy math, like I said. So you put in $100 out of that $3,000. The federal government will come in and then they'll put $100 on top of it, just to match what you've already put in. Now, for the sake of really making this video too long and keeping it from being just kind of like as basic and as kind of like easy to get into as I want it to be, I'm going to kind of divide this video and talk about three other different things. I'm going to touch on it, but I will, if there's enough interest, make other standalone videos that will go into more details on those topics. So I'm going to talk about potential tax implications, like kind of like what those TSP investment options are, and then also look at like TSP limits. So let's start off with tax implications. So similar to a 401k and a 403b, but really let's just look at the 401k because that's probably what most people are familiar with. But looking at those, so you'll have two options with the TSP. You'll have what we'll call like the traditional or pre-tax option, and then you'll have what we'll call the Roth or after-tax options. And so what happens with the traditional or pre-tax TSP is that your money goes in there before it's been taxed, right? And so tax implications for that is that it essentially lowers your taxable income for for the year that you put that money in. Because remember, it goes in before your money's been taxed. Now, what ends up happening is that when you pull that money out later down the road in retirement, then it will end up getting taxed. The other option is the what you would call the Roth or after tax option. And so this is when you put in money that's already been taxed into the TSP. And so the beauty of this one is that when you take the money out down the road for retirement, it's not taxed. So that money will grow, the Roth option will grow tax free because it's already been taxed. This is different than the traditional TSP option, which the money grows tax deferred. Tax deferred because you haven't paid tax on that traditional option yet. You will pay tax on it after you pull the money out. You might be wondering, what are strategies or why somebody might do one versus the other. Like I said, best case scenario, talk to an advisor, nursemoneytalk.com/advisor to talk to somebody to kind of work, to really go deep into your situation because there is somewhat of a strategy. Make sure you subscribe because I'll make a video that talks about that a little bit more in depth a little bit later. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. Now, as for looking at what your TSP options are, there's really a handful of options. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 investment options slash categories. And the reason why I say categories is because once you get into the L fund, there's kind of like several options underneath that. But so looking at the G fund. So with the G fund, those are government securities investment fund. The F fund is like fixed income index investment fund. C fund is the common stock index investment fund. The S fund, which is your small cap stock index fund. Your I is your international stock index investment fund. And the L fund is your life cycle funds, right? And so I won't go too deep into each one of these because really I feel like I can make several videos just on this alone. But what I do want to kind of stress is that really keep in mind that when somebody's talking about investing with your TSP or even investing with your 401k, that in and of itself is not an investment, if you will. I don't know if this will make sense, but it's more or less like one example, one good way I've heard put is like when you're looking at something like 401k or whatever, it's really more of like a coat, if you will, that tells the that tells like the IRS, this is how you're going to treat any investments that are made within this code. Because even if you look at the 401k, for instance, 401k is just like really looking at the section of the tax code. I want to say it was like is it section 401k subsection K or something like that? I can't remember, but it really tells like where in the IRS tax code that the rules are pertaining to the retirement. So in terms of like how is the IRS going to treat these investments? Like when you start looking at these G fund, the F fund, the C fund, the S, the I, the L fund, these are really where your money's going into. These are the actual funds, the actual investments. And then, if you go in the TSP website, then you can see what are the historical returns on those investments. The next thing, once again, I'll probably make a video on these later. So just make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss that. The next one is really looking at TSP limits. And so as of the time of, recording this video, the limit for this year is like 22,500. And actually, I think that might be for next year. Either way, the point is that there is generally like a limit of how much, you can put into a TSP. And so I just thought that that was probably like pertinent information, to know just in terms of trying to really get a handle or a grasp of the very basics of the TSP. Because I've talked to many different nurses, in my time working for a federal facility, and it's pretty clear to me that many nurses really do not have a good understanding of how their retirement really works, right? And so what I want to do is really just kind of shed some light into this, because here's the thing, you don't have to know the super advanced technical things, right? You don't really need to do that. You really just have to know the basics, get a handle on what you're doing, get comfortable, and most importantly, actually start saving that money for you to do well. Honestly, like that's really it. People get caught up too much in like these like extra fancy stuff that really it just doesn't matter. So let me know if you guys have any questions at all over anything that I said, or if you have like any questions on a video that you would like me to make specifically related to this or anything else. Let me know in the comment sections below. Once again, make sure to check out nursemoneytalk.com/advisor so you can to find a financial plan that will kind of work with you in your situations. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you very soon in that next video.